You ever hear of a guy tying for first place in 3 different events in a single track meet? Did you know that the fastest track in the world was actually created by accident? Or how about this guy who ran the fastest quarter mile ever recorded, while he also ran in the exact same race the slowest mile that he'd ever recorded in his entire career. Strange as it seems, we're back this week with track running events, also marathon runners, although I think I'll break that into a separate episode, but found a couple of fascinating folders here in the Strange as it seems archives, so let's dive in. Welcome back. This is Jeff Hicks, curator of the Strange as it seems archives and grandnephew of John Hicks, who created Strange as it seems back in the late 1920s. For this week's episode, we're going to open up these folders that I just came across. One is, actually, we'll just do this one, I think. Track running events. I also found one on marathon runners, but strange and unusual facts from really the 1930s, 40s, and even into the 1950s on the sport of track. Let's dive in. Starting off, as we usually do, in the John Hicks era, which really the comic strip launched right in 1928, 1929, but looks like the oldest comic strip in this folder is from January 17th, 1931, and we've got a T.T. Crowley. He's aged 81 years old, ran 100 yards in 10 and 3/5 seconds from Southampton, England, back in 1927, but featured here in 1931. Looks like there was another octogenarian or septuagenarian. Actually, they covered him quite a bit all the way through. An older runner as well, J.C. Harper. First off, he was featured in 1934 at 66 years old. He ran 100 yards then in 12 and 4/5 seconds, and then he featured him again in 1935. The second-genarian Flash, J.C. Harper, same fact, but he had run 100 yards in 12 and 4/5 seconds when he was 60 years old. It looks like we had him featured again, and actually before that in 1933 as well as back in 1931. And then I found this, looks like in 1935. J.C. Harper, once noted sprinter, is dead at 80 years old. Great picture here of J.C. Harper in his prime, formerly of Minneapolis, a famous sprinter and all-around athlete 60 years ago. Died Thursday in Enderlin, North Dakota. He was 80 years old. He established a world record when he was 60 years old by running 100 yards in 12 and 4/5 seconds at Enderlin. 3 timers using stopwatches clocked him in at 12 and 4/5 seconds. The track surveyed and all of the conditions for a time-baking trial complied with. Mr. Harper on that occasion shattered the previous record for a man of 60 years by 1 and 3/5 seconds, the previous mark being 13 and 1/5 seconds established by Richard Morris of England. The great and elderly J.C. Harper, sprinter from the early 1930s and late 1920s. And another one from 1931. Here is Clarice Kennedy. She broke the Australian 90-yard hurdle running record with a broken leg. This is in Sydney back in 1931. Australia. Clarice Kennedy, Australia's greatest girl athlete, has finished with competitive sport. In the last race, she established a new Australian record of 14 and 1/5 seconds for the 90-yard hurdles, but there is more to the record than appears in the books. From the 5th hurdle on, she ran with a broken kneecap. Crazy. As the girl skimmed over the 5th barrier, a sharp cracking sound was heard. She set her jaws and raced on. She fell to the ground just after reaching the tape, and an X-ray told the story. Clarice Kennedy from 1931. And here's one, a great story of a race here by Glenn Cunningham, sensational mile runner and world record breaker. He won what was probably his hardest race by running so slowly that a high school track man could have bettered his time. Basically, it was kind of a trick. Before his victorious race, he was basically up against Gene Venske and Joe Mangan in New York. Both of them had beaten him before, And in his 4 losing races against them, he had run his fastest. So he switched out his strategy. And so before the race, he ran out front and he set the pace. But in this one, he refused to take the lead. And for almost the entire race, the 3 runners just jogged along. And then in the last quarter, however, he started sprinting and was able to nose out Vensky by 3 yards at the finish. So strange as it seems, it was the slowest mile that Cunningham had ever run, but the finish was the fastest last quarter mile of a race ever recorded at 55.8 seconds. Lots of articles here on his trick race, but fascinating race here by Glenn Fooldham. Glenn Cunningham, the last laugh least for the present from his arch foes Gene Vensky and Joe Mangan. Here's a strong runner from the early looks like the 1940s on this one. During his college career, Ensign Leslie McMitchell, he ran for NYU track. He won 25 individual championships and was never defeated in either high school or college cross-country event. Quite a runner here. We got a photograph of the Ensign Leslie McMitchell and quite a few letters from the New York University Bureau, NYU Bureau of Public Information, corroborating the fact of the great Ensign Leslie McMitchell. We have quite a few stories here of track stars overcoming quite a few handicaps. Here's another runner, the Iowa State track star Earl Labor II. He ran 1.5 miles with a broken leg, scored 2 points for his team versus Nebraska. Some corroboration here. We've got letters from Iowa State College and a couple of photographs of Earl here. Quite a feat. But many a runner has dropped out of a race due to a pulled muscle or because of a blister, but it's seldom that a runner continues a race for 1.5 miles after he has broken the large bone in his right leg. Yet, such is the experience of Earl Labor II, captain of the 2-mile team, who received a broken leg in this race against Nebraska on November 21st, 1931. Amazing story here, and amazing story of endurance from Earl Labor II. And how about Philip Tracy, a blind runner? This goes back to 1932. Although he was blind, he ran 75 yards in 8 2/5 seconds. Philip Tracy did back in 1927. And a couple of one-armed amazing athletes and runners here. We have first Marsh Farmer. He was a one-armed hurdler from Texas Tech, ran the 120-yard high hurdles in 14.5, just a fraction over the world's record in 1938. Kind of an amazing athlete all the way around. And here we have a handwritten or hand-signed letter from Marsh Farmer. I ran the high hurdles in 14.5 this summer at the National Collegiate Meet in Minneapolis. I hold both the high and low hurdle records in the Border Conference set this year at Tempe, Arizona, and also the Southwest Relays high hurdle from El Paso. Kind of amazing runner here. And we have another one-armed runner of note here, Joe Cage from Kingman High School, Peoria, Illinois. This goes all the way back to 1935. Not only is he a extraordinary runner, but he stars in football, high jumping, hurdling, basketball, running, shot put, discus, and javelin. And have a little handwritten note here from Joe Cage attached to one of his clippings and the picture that was used for the drawing. Joe Cage. Here's one of the great runners in history. This at the time, this is 1933, was the greatest mile ever run. Jack Lovelock from Oxford ran 1 mile faster than any man had before. At the time, it was 4 minutes, 7 seconds, and 6/10. Great 1933 New York Herald Tribune article, as well as Time Magazine too. How about this? A 1933 page from Time Magazine featuring New Zealand's Lovelock, Princeton's Bonthron, bowed his head. Pretty amazing. And there's a picture of Ernest Hemingway and also one of his marlins it looks like he caught without a harness at the time. Shows what the contemporaries of the day were doing. Fascinating stuff here in the archives. And this one, which we actually featured last week in the episode on ice skating miscellaneous. I found this again here in the sports track folder. But the world's record for running and skating, at least in 1935, was actually exactly the same, 9 2/5 seconds. Neither one was faster. Of course, today running is much faster than ice skating. And of course, ice skating really runs more than 100 meters as the main race rather than the 100 yards. But here in 1935, which one was faster? Trick question. Neither. They were the same. World record for running and skating, 100 yards, 9 2/5 seconds. And here's the story mentioned at the top of the episode about Henry Egal of St. John's. He tied for first place 3 different events in the same single track meet back in 1936. Amazing. Got a letter here from St. John's University and the Assistant Athletic Director, Joe Casconi. Many thanks for your kind inquiry as to Mr. Henry Egal. He had 3 dead heats, then the 880 yards, 1 mile, and the 2 miles. Tied 3 different runners in those events on the same day in the same track meet. Crazy. Speaking of running with a handicap, how about this one from 1934? Glenn Cunningham, record-breaking runner, has no toes on one foot for 4 years. He couldn't even walk because of leg injuries and became really a world-class, even world record holding runner. We've got a really cool article from 1934, The Boy Who Could. Fascinating background here on Glenn Cunningham. Whoops, I might have spoken too soon here. Check this out. Got a letter here from the Lawrence Daily Journal World, 1934. Gentlemen, I'm writing you with reference to an error appearing in the John Hicks Strange as It Seems, dated for release back on October 20th. In this release, it stated that Glenn Cunningham, a KU runner, has no toes on one foot. And for 4 years could not walk because of leg injuries. His coach, H.W. Hargis, is the authority for the statement that Cunningham does have all of his toes. However, he has no transverse arch in his right foot, which means that the front part of his foot is what might be called flabby. There's no support there. Fascinating. And then we got a letter from the McNaught Syndicate. Accompanying this letter, Mr. Hicks, Mr. E.A. Edwards of the Lawrence Journal World writes complaining and rather indignant letter. He says that Glenn Cunningham has plenty of toes and that your release for October 20th, you say he has no toes. But it is not the number of Mr. Cunningham's toes that really annoys Mr. Edwards. He's hurt by the alleged circumstance that he wrote you a letter and got in reply only a circular letter thanking him for the useful information. He is so mad now that he demands a substitute panel for October 20th. He's going to do all kinds of desperate things. Crazy. Now, I'm writing him a conciliatory letter telling him that we cannot furnish him the substitute panel, and we're regretting that Mr. Cunningham has so many toes. The reason I write this note to you is this. I suggest that you write him a nice personal note regretting the error, if error it be, and also regretting that his letter was not brought to your personal attention heretofore. This, I think, will save a situation which might result in the loss of a client as well as possibly unfavorable publicity. And I love this. On October 31st, my grandfather, Ernest Hicks, writes, Dear Charlie, I'm attaching a copy of the letter to Edwards at Lawrence. This should close the matter anyway, we hope so. Couldn't very well admit we were wrong, for our dope appears to be just as good as his. I love this. I see this all the time, and our dope is what they called their background and their intelligence on the stories. But we did, however, make the mistake of not checking the dates of his letter with the cartoon, but immediately thought he was referring to a cartoon that had already been released. The reply should have been different had we not overlooked this. Cordially, Ernest Hicks. And this is the article that he was referencing, saying his dope was every bit as good. And sure enough, it's the Liberty 1934, the boy who could. And in this article, as it was quoted by Strange as It Seems, it was the story of what happened. So when Glenn Cunningham was 7 years old, he was a normal, bright-eyed kid. Older brother Floyd had ambitions to be a runner, as did Glenn. So every morning, the two of them ran to school. They ran because they had chores to do at home before they could start for the little frame building in the middle of the town, 3 miles or so from their home. And when they got to the schoolhouse, they had to build the fire. That was part of their way of earning a few cents for their school expenses. They had to run, basically, to keep their job. So one day, they just beat the teacher under the wire. They unlocked the building and rushed in. They seized the usual kerosene can, dumped a quantity of the liquid on the stove upon smoldering embers. Glenn Cunningham doesn't remember much else. Some careless delivery service had put 5 gallons of gasoline instead of the usual kerosene in the can. It exploded, and when Glenn recovered consciousness, the flames were licking about him. His first impulse was to run out of the building, and out he ran, crying for Floyd. He saw Floyd nowhere, heard a voice inside the building, half stifled, low and agonized. 7 years old, not especially large for his age, he plunged back into the fire. Crazy. He fought his way as far as he could. The flames licked across the floor. They burned the cotton stockings off his legs, set fire to his trousers, and he screamed for Floyd. No answer. The smoke was so thick he couldn't see through it. He gasped and choked, tried to cover his face with a coat, and then oblivion came. He woke up in his own home, in a bed, his legs swathed in oil bandages, his hands swathed too, and part of his sturdy little body. Tried to move in the excruciating pain that made him cry out. Then he remembered Floyd had tried to get up. It was too late. Floyd had died in the flames. Crazy. For weeks he lay helpless, and here it is. His legs were seared and crisp. The burned flesh grew fast to the young bones. The right leg was crooked, pulled up at the knee by scar tissue on the back of the leg just below the hip. They all took the bandages off eventually. He had no left toes at all, just seared flesh melted into one stump. So here's the article for proof that Ernest Hicks sent back. Crazy story, but what an amazing story, because then he then grew up to be, here he is with the Rodman Wanamaker Trophy Cup, won it in Madison Square Garden, beating Vensky, who we just mentioned, in the mile. Crazy, breaking the world record in the 1,500 meter event, the 1933 National AAU indoor meet. What an amazing story about Glenn Cunningham. And how about some amazing twins here? The Carroll twins. This is from 1932 from the University of Nebraska. They look alike, weigh the same height, and both ran the 120-yard high hurdles in 15 seconds. But that wasn't all for the twins in track, because apparently there were Delmer and Elmer Brown and Wayne and Blaine Rideout, 2 sets of twins that formed the 1938 World's Championship relay team from North Texas State. My goodness, I got a lot of pictures of these guys here. Several photographs of the Rideout and Brown twins, track stars at North Texas State. Here's one of the great runner, Frank Wyckoff, who is a sprinter at the University of Southern California here at USC, but he also ran the world record 100 yards in 9.5 seconds in full football equipment. Amazing Frank Wyckoff of USC. And here's a story that definitely qualifies as strange. We have the Goliath Messiah from New York. He ran 3 miles backwards on his 72nd birthday. The Persian Messiah sprinting in reverse. His run today was a stout feat, all right, but onlookers who witnessed his 1937 performance wondered if the Persian racer wasn't softening up a little. Last year, he tore bark off of trees and munched it as he ran, and today, he didn't even snaffle a leaf. Crazy. Goliath Messiah from New York, churchgoers And children firmly today stood agape. What a story. And a couple of amazing female runners. Here's one, a race against time. Miss Florence Illott sprinted 1,160 feet across Westminster Bridge while Big Ben was striking 12 o'clock. Crazy photograph here from the midweek pictorial in 1934 of Florence Illott sprinting across while Big Ben rings. And then also at the top, the president begins his second year as pitcher in the major leagues. There's President Roosevelt throwing out the ball of the first game of the season in Washington, which the Boston Red Sox shut out the Senators, by the way, 5-0, 1934. And some great stuff in here on Helen Stevens, the world track champion, won 70 consecutive races. She's never been defeated by another woman. And check this out, a full poster. Wow, that's awesome. Helen Stevens, official Olympic and world records. The 100 meters, 11.5 seconds in Berlin, Germany. The 100 meters, the 100 yards, standing broad jump, 8-pound shot put, discus throw. Champion in all of those, and she basically appeared in person in a program and would like to meet Jesse Owens or any man in a match race of 100 yards for a side bet of $5,000. How's that? Great Helen Stevens from the 1930s, probably the greatest female runner of her time. And for the final strange and unusual fact found in this amazing folder on track and running events, quite a few pieces of information here from Princeton University. This is the Princeton University track, where apparently the invitation meet held there was just known as shattering world records all the time. Other fast times were made at Princeton's first invitation meet, and apparently, as the story goes, and this is corroborated here with a couple of letters from Princeton University and the director of public information there, but apparently the track, the Palmer Stadium track, became the world's fastest by accident. The football field was built with a deep moat, 8 feet deep around it, and since this was hazardous to players, the excavation was filled with rock and gravel. And what it did was form a perfect cinder oval, and that's how the fastest track in the world, at least in the 1940s, was formed at Princeton University. Strange as it seems. Well, thank you once again for joining me for another dip into the amazing facts and folders here of strange and unusual facts from the Strange as It Seems archives. If you like stories like this, the strange and unusual, old-time comic strips, and amazing, really, facts of human endurance and animals and science and nature, please click the bell to subscribe. Please hit a like to follow. Drop me a line. Let me know what you'd like to hear or see from the archives as I dig back in. We'll see you next week for another episode here at Strange as It Seems.